Hello everyone, it is time for one more look at the LEGO City main square set for 2020 because I did my regular review already where I go through everything, I try to be fair about it, I try to consider context and everything, and I look at pros and cons. Then I did an intentionally positive, biased re-look at everything, looking at just the good stuff, looking at the considerations of how this is all just a toy. This is all just for younger kids. It's a 6+ set. And really being nice on it, nice to it, going easy on everything and looking for the bright side of all of it. Now I'm going to look at the dark side of it. I'm going to look at the negative stuff. I'm going to focus specifically, intentionally with a negative bias on the stuff that is really not right here, that easily could have and should have been better than maybe would have been better if this had been designed at a different time. What I'm not going to do though is ignore the context of it being a 6+ set because I don't even need to do that. I can look at this as a 6+ set and still critique it within its correct context. And I don't even need to play any mental games to make that happen because just look at the entire mass of the set. Look at everything together that comes with this set. It's kind of a mess, isn't it? There is no cohesiveness here. These things don't really tie each other together. They're all based on and inspired by elements of the LEGO City Adventures animated series that they did. So, they kind of all tie together in that way. But just visually looking at this stuff, this is not like a classic main street set where you're building up the parts of a city. You're basically creating a starting point for a city or even just an entire small city just by itself in one box. This is a bunch of random stuff kind of thrown together. I think nowhere is that more apparent than here. This is kind of the main square itself in this main square set. I mean, it's literally square, but it would also represent kind of the center of the city that the set is trying to build up and set up for us. And just looking at it at first glance, it's kind of a mess, right? And super simplified. I mean, they tried to throw in a bunch of things, but what can you really do with those things? And what value do they really provide? I have no problem with this statue here and the little surround for the little pool of water there. That's all good. But everything else, I do have some problems with. This central pathway here, which awkwardly goes from being rectangular to curved right there. I mean, it's just kind of a little bit lazy, but this has no studs on top. So if you put a figure there, it's going to be able to slide around and you need to have the figure perfectly balanced, upright and everything to be able to have them there for any amount of time. And if you're not on a perfectly steady surface, they're just going to fall off. I like to have studded surfaces, at least, put a jumper or a single stud or use some 1x4 modified tiles with the 2 studs so that you can put a person there, you put a person there, something like that. This just doesn't work that well for play unless you're just going to put somebody there and just don't look at it anymore. Don't blow on it. Don't touch it. Don't do anything with it. The fact that these chairs are on the ground is almost insulting to me because they could easily have just lifted those up, put a single plate underneath each, and then they would have looked more like chairs rather than just the tops of chairs with the legs missing or the support underneath missing. Just a small, simple thing. Also, the fact that the chairs and the table don't go together here kind of doesn't make sense. I think they were trying to create some balance here. It doesn't really work for me personally. Also, these trees, I understand 6+ set. Yes, get it. 6+ sets. Got to be simple. The build has to be simple and everything. But these just look so plastic and they're so obviously just the same build repeated. I think this space would have been better served with just their pre-built, ready-made one-piece trees, just one on either side. I think it would have looked much better, much more charming like older sets. Those are parts that are still in the inventory. Just would have made better use of the space, would have looked more cool, would have been easier to access stuff around here. And then these, I think, don't really add much at all to the story, if you must of how this works. So it's just not that usable of a space, and it's not a good looking space either. And it's not because it's a 6+ thing, it's just because it's not a great design. This is a performance stage, and it is a stage for this character Poppy Star, who would stand back there. And there you go, that's the stage. All right, the microphone's a little bit tall for her, so it's kind of getting in her way. I think all of these parts down below add very little to this. Yes, you get some elevation there, kind of puts her above the crowd if you're going to set up a crowd for this, but those are all extra pieces that add to the cost of the set, as do all these little bits up here. A couple of these add, nice little splashes of color and let you use your imagination and think that the colored light is going to be coming out if it's an evening time performance or something. But this is just too many, and it's always annoying to put one by one pieces together. At least you don't have to line them up perfectly, but this feels like it's just adding to the parts count and not giving you that much value. The fact that the speakers are large is nice, but are they really necessary? Those probably could have been smaller. I just feel like all of this, for how simple it is ultimately, could have been approximated with a smaller build. Oh, just what we need. Another fire helicopter. Great. Yeah. We never have too many of those, especially ones with this same canopy piece that they've used 8,563,222 times to date. It's even scratched up because the newer material, that's not my fault, and it's not a hair in there or anything, just the newer material scratches more easily than the old material, and they don't pack things well enough to prevent parts from moving around a lot during shipment, so you can just expect to get scratched large windscreen and window pieces like that. Okay, this holds a person, that's fine. This rotor is kind of pathetic, it's just shorter than it needs to be. Skids are fine, that's fine. Yeah, it's a printed piece, something we don't get enough of, but then we have a sticker here and a sticker here. Ultimately, yeah, it's just another city helicopter, and then they put a net on it. So the net is, I'm assuming, supposed to be used to capture, I covered this in videos before, from the first time that the pictures of this set came out, is, capture a cat that's stuck in one of those super plastic looking cloned trees over in the square park area. That's cute, that's fine. And you can pull this off if you don't like it. But then what if you want to actually use this as a fire helicopter? Back in the 80s, they did fire helicopters. And in the 90s, they did fire helicopters that would look like they could actually put out fires. This does not. At least they could have added in some suggestion of a hose, a nozzle, or something to make it useful for, well, its job. And it's not. Speaking of which, this limo has some serious, fundamental, objective problems with this. I don't think it's going to be easy to even argue against these points, even if you want to be super positive about everything in this set. The wheels stick out a little bit more than they need to. At least they have these running boards. The major problem with this is not how it looks, though, how it functions. It's a big old car. Long, super long. Got space for a driver. That's good. Got a control panel up there, or, dashboard. Got these doors that open. That's all good. You got all this space back here, and it only fits a single person. Are you serious? This is the length of at least 2 cars, maybe 3, and it fits 2 people, which many regular-sized cars can handle. So what are we doing with all this extra space, and why? There's a table here. Okay, so you can put a single coffee mug there, and there's a TV that's way forward. The passenger's gonna have difficulty seeing it all. And then that's it. All this length. You don't have a trunk where you can put space. You have to, if you want to put extra cargo in there, it has to be underneath the window or in front of the TV, so the person can't even see the TV. And there's no space to put even a third person in there. This is so large, and it only fits 1 passenger plus 1 driver. That just fundamentally does not make sense. there's so much possibility with this much of a stretch, with this much size, even not extending it out to be 6 wide. Some people have said, hey, it should be 6 wide. Hey, would have been better if it was 6 wide, maybe, but maybe not, because they didn't even make full use of the space that's here. So that's just unfortunate, right? This could have held easily 3 passengers back here, maybe even 4, but I would say at the very least 3, but instead it holds only 1. Why? I hate the fact that this has gotten repetitive now, because I'm now going to give almost the exact same feedback for another much larger this time build in this same set. Another vehicle, basically, right? A wheeled thing. It's train, tram, light rail, whatever you want to call it. It is what it is. It's a transportation device that runs on wheels and is intended to move people, lots of people, from one place to another, right? The look of it, I'm fine with. I'm not even going to complain about the look of it. It's basically just a small evolutionary progression from stuff that they've done before, like, you know, the orange one that they did, the orange and black one was a good almost prototype for this, and they just have reused a mold that they spent a lot of money making and put it in a slightly different color, just slightly different color. And, you know, released this. It's the same basic deal as before. However, let's look at what we can actually do with this. Again, right? It's a train. Call it a tram. That's fine. It's a people mover. All this entire thing holds a driver, if that's intended to be the front. You know, it's symmetrical front to back. So a driver and 2 passengers. There are 2 passenger seats in this entire car. What's really unfortunate about that is that there's plenty of room to put 2 more seats. Like, anybody can come through and add 2 more seats right now. Right now. And still have space for people to be standing at the doorway. There's plenty of room. You just do it. Just put them on there. Move these 2 forward and then add in 2 more. That's it. And they didn't do that. Does it really cost that much to Lego to add 4 more pieces? It's 2 seats for here, 2 seats for here. Because look, there's no excuse with different builds for one end versus the other for conversion to power functions or power it up or whatever. Nowadays, this is not powered. It's just something that can ride on regular rails, small train wheels they've had around forever. But all that, you build up all that, and you carry a total of 4 passengers, and that's it. And what's worse, the center section doesn't hold anything. Technically, you can have people at least standing in there. So, yeah, you can do that. Doesn't look particularly safe, but they could easily have put in 2 more seats there if they wanted to. Obviously, they didn't want to. At least the orange train that they did before, or tram that they did before, had a good accommodation for a bicycle to fit in there. Oh, by the way, set comes with a bicycle. Whoop-de-doo. Sorry, can't take it on the train unless you're going to take up an entire space. Actually, you know what? I've not even tried that yet. Can I carry this bicycle within this train? Is there a good orientation for it? Doesn't look like it. I see. I thought I was going to have to go back. I thought I was going to have to correct myself and say, oh, I'm actually being too negative, but I'm not. Can I at least put it here? Ooh, 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 ooh. Oh, there we go. Okay, so there's how you can use that, by having a bicycle with both wheels sticking out from the ends of it, like that. Here we have what we call a train station these days in the modern era, the modern world of Lego City. This is a train station for you. Remember the days when you could buy a Lego train station set and it was glorious? It was large, it had a whole platform, it had a ticket counter with an actual person and everything. It had an interior space, it had a place where you could buy food from a person who would prepare it for you. And here you just get a vending machine that only sells Vita Rush. What is it? Is it soda even? It's not exactly making a good example for kids to be healthy these days or anything. Well, I'm not going to go there. Kind of already did, but just saying. And it's got the schedule up. It's got the sign up above. That's fine. This is the ticket machine. Looks rather incomplete. Kind of have to use your imagination there. And the platform. I mean, I guess, okay, the tram has just doors on the side, and each one is just 4 studs wide. So I guess they could have made it just the platform just 4 studs long. Instead, this is, 12 studs plus the stairs over there. Not even any wheelchair access. Hey, it doesn't have a wheelchair in this set. Yeah, but they're trying to accommodate wheelchairs in city nowadays and stuff. They had their little bus stop they did with a nice ramp. Why couldn't they have put a little ramp on this side? But at the end of the day, this is a poor excuse for a train station. And even for the small light rail tram that is built for this set, or with this set, there's not enough room to get your passengers on and off. You have to bring one car up, okay, embark, disembark, move it, bring the next car up, embark, disembark. Would it have been that hard to just add some length to this? Not even adding detail to it, just add some length, just so that there's enough space for people to get on to the dang tram or train itself. These two things are, well, they're pretty much just what they look like, right? I mean, okay, another motorcycle, whoop-de-doo. So many motorcycles they do. It allows them to say they have another vehicle in there, whatever. Quad, ATV, 4-wheeler, 4x4, little thing, right? They've done so many designs of this basic concept of thing, and none of them does anything more than the most simple, the most basic. This is a pretty basic looking one. Like, it doesn't look great, doesn't even have fenders up front. They could have done the same thing, just smaller, and actually made it look better. By the way, sticker sheet that came with this particular set that I got, super offset. Really bad. Look how close that emblem is, the shield emblem of the police department shield. It's so close to this edge of the sticker there compared to the other side. It's just so far off. The quality control there is terrible. Probably the worst that I've ever seen of an offset for the die cut for that sticker sheet. But okay, this has one single clip on the back to hold on to a minifig accessory. Otherwise, this could have been smaller, used fewer pieces, and probably looked cooler. Here is Handyman Harl Hubbs's little cart thing. This is somewhat accurate to what's actually in the show, except for the rear wheel, which should be another one of these, or should look like this. What just fell off? Oh, not everything's even attached all that well. Please tell me this looks amazing. Please allow me to laugh at thee. This is so much of a mess. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of this entire set. Just a hodgepodge of things thrown together with a story and, a connection to an animated TV series that therefore makes it correct, that makes it canonical, and therefore right. It's supposed to be like this. Yet it doesn't need to be like this. So here's what I'm thinking. All right, it's a handyman's vehicle. It's supposed to hold a whole bunch of random stuff. Cool. So Lego designers could have come up with a nice, small, mini truck, like a classic styled, and you can make it more modern with its aesthetics. Just a little pickup truck, okay? Keep it simple though. Just give it a flat bed. Maybe put fences on the sides. Could have held all this random stuff and looked cool. Would have been a nice 6+ build that any young Lego fan could have put together easily. And then they could have used it for other things as well. They could have changed out the cargo a lot easier than you can with this. They could have carried more things than you can with this. It would have appealed to a larger audience. It just would have been better in every possible way. Probably without using hardly any more pieces, to be honest with you. Maybe it wouldn't have been able to have as much extra cargo there, but you think about, the pros and cons of decisions that can be made. This could have been just a simple, basic city styled, modern Lego City styled truck with the build of the cab. Bed on the back that's just a single plate. It would have been so much more useful than this. Just put a couple fences on the side, maybe. Could have accomplished everything that this tries to and fails at. Would have looked good. Unlike this. City diner. Oh no. Oh, well. Now my job becomes a little bit more difficult. My job in this video of looking at all the stuff that's wrong with this set. Because at first glance, this looks kind of cool. Doesn't it? I mean, it's got a burger on top, and everybody loves a burger on top of a Lego building or vehicle or anything. I don't know. It just seems to be universally loved. Okay, if you're a health nut, then you can complain about it, but I'm not even going to go there because I'm going to be honest. At first glance, this does not look half bad at all. It even has a little delivery window over here, although it probably should have been connected with the kitchen, which is on this side, but then they don't have room for it. So I'll allow it. Okay, so we're off to actually an okay start, and my job looks like it may be difficult for this particular type of evaluation of what's wrong with the set. There's just enough room to have a person standing right there. Good luck if you want to have two people back here, but again, that's okay. I'll allow it. Here's my question. How do you get somebody to sit in that seat? Okay, it has an entire 2 seats in this space, limited by the space, and the designer chose to, give this much space to the employee-only area. But how do you get someone to sit right there? Literally, I am serious about this. I am going to try it. Okay, I've got to line it up back here. I'm not going to try to make this look harder than it is. So I'm using full adult manual dexterity here to get this person in. There we go. So a couple fingers holding on from the side, guiding the person down, making sure that she was already in a partially seated position, and then can push down from the head. For a 6+ set, do you really expect, Lego, that 6-year-old kids are going to be doing that? Do you expect them, even with their tiny little hands? Okay, so I'll just use 2 fingers to approximate the size of a 6-year-old hand. It's still not easy to get past that. All right, so you have to take the burger off. The table has to be, well, that's not good. That didn't help. This also came up just now. I'll let that go, but getting the burger off of there, that's not good. This is really stuck. I didn't even realize this. I didn't plan on this. That's not good for 6+. Hey, there we go. Just remove the table and then you can put a person in. There we go. Cool. Then just put the table back and just put the burger back and we're set. I don't know. That just feels like a lot more work than what Lego always does. Typically, almost always does, and just letting us remove the roof, but here the roof is not designed to be removed. And that's just such a shame. Access within here is not good. Like I said, it doesn't look bad. It really doesn't look bad, except for these stickers again that are way offset, but that's almost forgivable here if you don't know how they're supposed to look. But just the fact that it's so difficult to get somebody into one of 2 seats in the entire place. At least you can put somebody here, fine, that's just okay. But not having an easily removable roof to get in there and play with this as a 6+ set, to get into the joy of it, to get into the play of it all, not a good look. Honestly, functionally could have been much better. All right, so before I take the time to go through the main build of this set, I'm going to take a little detour and go through all the minifigures. I'm going to do this relatively quickly because, as long as I move slowly enough, you can basically see all the details here. We don't need to spend a ton of time really evaluating each one on its own individual merit, because there is one major theme that goes through all of these that is problematic. And that is that most of them are named characters, specific named characters with specific stories, specific canonical reasons for existing and interacting with other characters, including figures in this set. So from here, those are all named characters with their own stories that have already been written for them, and personalities that have been designed. That's a named character, believe it or not. That's a named character. Named. These two I don't think are named. I think they have been in the show, but at least they're not named, so that's better, I think. And then that's a named character down there at the end. Think about that for a minute. Named characters, that many of them in Lego City, what used to be the old Legoland town theme. This is about building a city. This is about creating your own stories. Again, 6+, it's all about imagination, right? And yet, so much of that imagination has been intentionally, or imaginative possibility has been intentionally suppressed here by Lego creating these stories, these personalities, these histories, and these names for these specific characters. And, a lot of kids will try to do what they're told, do what they're supposed to do. And especially when you consider this is a Lego set where you build it per instructions. So the personalities of these individual characters are kind of prescribed already, as are the designs of the things that you have to assemble. So that's all that imaginative possibility just squandered by doing all that in advance, by taking all of that possibility, all of that open-ended possibility out of the equation entirely. And it's just not a Lego-like thing to do for City in particular. Yes, they've done themes with named characters and themes that have gone well, that have worked out well. And yes, they have used named characters that have been much loved before. Even in City, like City had Chase McCain, okay? And Clutch Powers, all right? A couple is one thing. This is a lot of figures that they've included here, and most of them are named and basically already fully defined for what they sound like, what they act like, what they like to eat and drink, what they like to do, what they're afraid of. All that stuff has already been figured out. And it's not just me. Plenty of people have called them out on this since they started doing the Lego City Adventures thing. It's not just me. It's problematic. It's something that a lot of people don't like, and they didn't have to do it. And it's definitely worthy of criticism, critique, and further thought and questioning. It takes some of the imaginative possibility out of this set that's designed for young kids to help build their imagination and creativity. All right, this is it. This is the big thing, the big build, the big Lego City Town Hall or City Hall. This is inspired by the actual building from the Lego City Adventures animated series. It's scaled way down, which is fine, right? I mean, they had some skyscrapers in that show that are crazy high, which is cool and all. And there's no way that they're going to be able to do super huge things in a reasonable sized set, and especially made for kids 6+, that's fine. And this does use fairly simple building techniques, so you can't expect a lot of detail out of it. At least the colors are nice until you look closely. Like, here, let me just zoom straight in, right here. That is not that, right? Those colors aren't the same. That color's not the same as that. They're supposed to be. And here's the thing. Some people actually look at these color differences and say, hey, that looks good. I appreciate that, because in real life, there is variation. Like, no two bricks are exactly the same color. This is not real life. This is not trying to be bricks. It's not trying to be weathered. It's not trying to look like, the variation from different batches, from different sources of building materials. You got one stack of bricks came in on one truck from one kiln and another. No, none of that is intentional. None of that is done here. This is Lego, where only the best will do. Only the best. You know, they're lauded, well-known. Everybody fawns over them for their super high quality control, their super high quality of bricks and consistency of color. You know, unlike all the quote-unquote clone brands that don't care about things like that, Lego does. Lego always gets that absolutely right, except they don't. And this is a perfect example of that. Dark red in particular has been bad in that way since its inception in its modern form. They actually did 2 different versions that were noticeably different. And within each of those batches, I think there's 1 year, I think was it 2003 when they made the big changes, I think? There was one specific year when they changed it, and it ended up being just a little bit different. But prior to that time, they had differences, and since that time, they still have those differences. This is not an old batch from 20 years ago, 15 years ago or something like that. No, this is new stuff, and their consistency and quality has just gone down that much. Their care about quality control has gone down that much that you can see it that obviously on even a simple set like this with just basic bricks. I don't feel like I am going on too much about that issue because we pay such a high premium for quality with Lego, with the Lego brand. It's not just the brand name. The brand name means something, and it means quality, or at least it's supposed to. And the fact that it doesn't here means that you're not getting the value that you're used to. You're not getting the value that you're promised. You're not getting what you paid for. Okay, so this is City Hall, and it's super scaled down. That's fine. The build is fairly simple. It's mostly studs on top construction for the younger kids to be able to deal with. That's fine. But what do you actually get here that you can do as a kid, right? Keeping the context right. What can kids do with this? How can they play with this? Well, they can have people outside on this weird sidewalk that juts out here. Like, why does it stop there? What is that about? Why can't you at least have a continuous sidewalk? No studs on the sidewalk itself. So again, with the problem of figures easily falling off. All right, they can walk up the stairway. Nice. They can open these doors. Good. You can actually have a person standing up here on the balcony. You can have the mayor addressing a crowd, although there is no door, so the mayor can't actually walk through there. Have to use your imagination. Right. Interior. Let me start from the sides. That's a trophy. Yay! And you can kind of fit a figure right there on that little 1 stud long ledge. That's a trophy. Yay! Same difference again. In the middle, you kind of have a lobby area, and that's supposed to be the key to the city. That's kind of cool. Lasers spin around as a security device. I'm assuming that doesn't happen all the time, because if it does, it's super dangerous. And look how these lasers stick out there. So if you actually wanted to use this space, that's too bad. Like, it's actually nice that there is this space. Take this off. That's a decent amount of space, of floor space, especially for sets nowadays. They usually don't have that much. Like, you're lucky if you have a 2 stud deep area where a figure can stand facing sideways rather than just facing towards you or back towards the wall. But they squander that space by putting this here right in the middle, right? Centered back there, so nobody can stand anywhere over here. Otherwise, they'll just get chopped up. If you're considering that to be serious in any way, shape, or form. But then they can magically teleport up to the mayor's office, and this is the mayor's office, and it has a seat for the mayor, and it's got his desk. That's fine. A little bit of floor space, actually, for people to stand around there. That's okay. And then, okay, well, let's keep it going. Get up to the roof. There's room for figures to stand around on the roof, I guess. Don't know why you'd be doing that, but hey, there's an extra room. Except it's not. It's just a little box. It's like a closet with nothing in it. It's supposed to be like a bell. It's like a bell tower supposedly up there. Yeah, so, okay, roof is a roof. At least it has one. Doesn't have anything around the back. I'm excusing that. It has an office that does not make good use of the space, and then the entire lower level doesn't make good use of the space at all, not even a little bit. Why could they not have put a small little office off to one side by changing the shape of this? Obviously, it needs better use of the parts. They've got, they've added the depth in here, I guess, so they look good from the front and from the sides a little bit. But when it comes to actual usefulness, it's not much better than a basic facade. Because if they'd used those parts better, they could have had at least like a small office, literally just a small office off to one side, or a break room, small office off to the other side, and then imagine a reception area right in the middle. How much more appropriate would that have been in the lobby of a city hall than a reception area? And that could have actually contributed to imaginative play. And then, the office on one side could have represented something, and then a kid could have brought in a brick, like a white 2x2 brick to represent a copy machine. And you could start to imagine stuff, but to actually play with, to actually do actual scenarios. But instead, they've got the cops and robbers thing that you can do, where you can imagine that a robber breaks in and makes this thing stop spinning, and then they grab the key. And then they grab that, and then they grab that, and then they leave through the back that's all open, because actually putting them through the doors is a pain, again, kind of like I showed with the diner. Like, okay, if you've got really tiny fingers, really tiny hands, you can kind of make it work, but it's better if you move something out of the way entirely, and then you've taken away like a third of your play value of the entire huge build. This is not good planning, not good use of the parts, not good for little kids to actually play with, and it doesn't even look that great. Probably the best thing about it is how it looks from the outside, but I don't think that's worth it. With all the other losses and all the other misses throughout the design of this whole major main centerpiece of this expensive set. Speaking of which, this set does cost $200 US. Now, I've already seen, predictably, plenty of people saying no Lego set that's made for kids 6 years old should cost $200. What 6-year-old kid is going to have $200 to spend on a Lego set? I'm actually going to defend Lego against and defend this set against that argument, because it's a garbage argument. No kid is going to be buying this. I mean, okay, maybe there will be like one. This is not intended for kids to buy. This is intended for parents to buy. And realistically speaking, it's probably going to be more well-to-do aunts, uncles, and grandparents, and or, extended family who will be buying this for a family, with multiple kids. So don't worry about who's going to be buying it. Don't worry about the fact that it's an expensive thing that is intended to be enjoyed by younger kids. That's not necessarily a mutually exclusive sort of scenario. What matters here is there the value? Is there $200 worth of value in this set? Whoever ends up buying it, it's going to end up going to 6-year-old kids and above, right? And is the value there? This is 1,500 in some pieces, so you look at the price to part ratio, it's not great. Lego City in particular, over time has proven to be one of the themes with the worst price to part ratios. Some of that is skewed by some of their train sets and large boat sets, but they've done plenty of just regular sized sets that are way, way overpriced. People always say, oh, well, so is the licensed stuff, because license fees and stuff. This isn't licensed. This is Lego's own IP, their own intellectual property, and city stuff frequently tends to be some of the most expensive stuff for what you actually get here. And what do you actually get here? Like I said at the beginning, kind of a mess. Nothing here is great. Very few things here are as good as they easily can be. I'd say that the figures are amongst the best things you get here value-wise, because they're just figures. You do have to consciously, intentionally put away the fact that they are already designed, their personalities, their characters are already designed. If you want to get the full value from those figures, imagine that they're just regular people, that they're not Duke Dutain and Freya McLeod and Snake Rattler and so on. But you can do that, right? It is possible to do, and especially if there are any kids who are going to receive this who have not seen the Lego City Adventures series, that's the best possible scenario, because then they're not going to be biased. They're not going to have all the prescribed stuff already in their head of what each thing needs to do, what the exact stories needed to be. You got to go back through the TV series and you've got to replay the exact episodes. Like if they don't have that holding them back, they'll actually get more value out of this, which is totally ironic. But as for the builds themselves, as I showed, none of them are particularly good. And I believe every single thing here could have been better without raising the suggested price, the suggested age range for this. I do not look at this set and expect it to be a creator expert modular build or building. I don't expect it to be on that level of quality, that level of detail. No, I expect it to be a bunch of fun stuff for young kids. I expect a city, like a major city building block set to allow you to create a series of small buildings, like miniaturized buildings to start a city. I loved what they did with the old original Main Street set. I always wanted to get that. That's the right idea. Like, it had things that you could actually do, and it had suggestions of real places that you could make, and multiple of them. And ultimately, with the older sets, so many of the parts were just regular bricks, whereas with this, there are plenty of regular bricks, at least in the City Hall set, that can be reconfigured. Okay, so we think about value, and other things you need to consider is longevity, right? Like, how long will a given person be able to get value from this, continue to extract value and fun from it? And with those pieces, as you get older, or even if you don't get older, you just get bored of this, you can take the thing apart and you can make other things with it. So that's good. That's a good start for that one build. But for the rest of the stuff, there are a lot of specialized and sloped or curved pieces and stuff that aren't going to be able to be combined with other things together. Like, you're not going to take this and put them together and come up with something new. This is not going to happen. Okay, maybe you'll change out the door frames, so you'll end up with a train with white door frames. Whoop-de-doo. There's not a lot of rebuild potential here. You could probably take the Limo and turn it into just a regular car. You could actually probably take the Limo, turn it into a regular length car that could still hold the same number of people as that entire Limo does, and then just have a whole bunch of parts left over, now that I think about it. But honestly, the rebuild potential here is not great. And the play potential with each individual thing is nowhere near where it easily could be, that I can see that it could be. I just feel like the priorities when designing this were not set straight. It wasn't really thought about from a kid's perspective. Everything is easy enough to be built by a kid. Everything is targeted at kids. But I feel like the whole thing could have been a better set for kids if it was built and designed more like older sets used to be. And it would actually have more of the appeal to older audiences, including adults who like, for instance, old Lego sets that were made for little kids because they're just that good, right? And they're timeless. They have the ability to continue to build that sort of timelessness with modern Lego building techniques and quality control, except quality control isn't even that good anymore. There's just so much that is not where it should be with this. And that's really a shame in so many ways. And then it's expensive at the end of the day. I don't think there's much more that I can say about this. It needs a lot of work. It needs a whole lot of work. And I hope that Lego won't do things like this in the future. I hope that they will try to reel themselves back a little bit, think from a more holistic perspective of like, let's provide tools for kids to build entire scenes, entire stories. Don't prescribe them for them in every single theme. Let imagination flourish, seed imagination, and then provide the tools, such as pieces, to let that grow and blossom on its own. This just doesn't do it. That's my look at the negative side of this and the many, many things that are wrong with this set that aren't just my own observations. I've already seen people, other people than myself, say most of the things that I've already covered here in one way or another. So let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think about this view compared to the all positive biased view compared to my normal actual review of it. Thanks for watching. Hope this was at least interesting to you, and I'll talk to you again soon.